fanatics. Tom Brady day-over-day jersey sales are up 900%. The Buccaneers are the #1 selling team across their network today. Jerseys and other merchandise. More Bucs gear has been sold today than the last 2 weeks combined. And with that thought in mind, I want everyone to know that as we get back to Sneaky Hembo here, Dominic Foxworth just texted me, I'm going to get this trivia question right. So let's see how he does. Aside from Tom Brady, Dominic Foxworth, who was the only quarterback to start a playoff game for Bill Belichick?
I hope Lizzie is there, Hembo's wife, to dunk on him after I nail this, because it is Bernie Kosar back in Cleveland. Give me that.
You had the right team. You had the wrong quarterback. The answer is Vinny Testaverde in Cleveland in the '94 season. He legendarily sent Bernie Kosar away.
Yeah,
Vinny Testaverde became the quarterback. I hope someone, maybe Lizzie, can come and dunk on you at some point when we are all back together again.
When my kids, get up, they're going to dunk on me because that's what they do anyway.
I have a new segment here that I'm creating. It is called Plausible Deniability. And I want to give credit where it is due. This was an idea that I cooked up in tandem with the guys at ESPN Radio in Minneapolis. The show is called Mackey and Judd with Ramey. And the basic idea of it is that you make a prediction, some sort of a hot-takey kind of prediction that you sort of really believe to be true, although you recognize that it is a tad outrageous, but it is called plausible deniability because you don't expect to be held accountable for it a little bit later. I understand. I'm making up ridiculous rules, but what the heck. So here we go, guys. Here is my plausibly deniable hot take. Tom Brady will play in a Super Bowl again, and Bill Belichick will not coach in one. That is my acknowledgedly hot-takey belief that I actually believe to be true, and I will defend it. Go ahead, Neek. I can see the look on your face.
I love the idea of this segment. This is a great idea, but it's a bad place to start because you, Greedy, are a master of logic and reason, and you just go to the basic logic and reasoning like Bill Belichick is getting older. That does not make him a worse coach. Tom Brady is getting older. That does make him a worse football player. I think it's more likely that if you're going to pick one of these two, Bill Belichick has a better chance of rebuilding that team in the AFC, in the AFC East, which no one believes necessarily is going to be super competitive anytime soon. He has a better chance in the next 5 to 8 years to make it back to the Super Bowl. Tom Brady himself says he only has 2 years left in the NFC that I think is pretty tough, particularly in NFC South. So, Swagoo, you with me, right? It's Belichick over Brady.
I'm 100% with you, Neek. I have deniability that I heard G say that because Bill Belichick obviously will coach much longer than Tom Brady will play quarterback. And regardless of who you think is responsible for getting to Super Bowls and winning them, obviously Brady had to execute and Bill had to put him in a position to execute. But Bill Belichick could be in another Super Bowl based on everything that we've known historically about his ability to coach at an elite level. Now, G, I get it and I understand it, but don't call that radio show no more.
Let me say this. Let me say it this way. This is not in any way to discount the genius of Bill Belichick. I believe he is the greatest football coach on any level that ever coached. I will say, however, that if you look at the way they have drafted, / he has drafted the last few years, you could also make an argument that Tom Brady has been pulling off miracles taking that team where it has been the last few seasons. They've done a terrible job of putting together pieces on offense. I think they're very, very far away, and I don't know exactly how much longer that's going to go. Now, do I believe Brady has 5 years left? No. But I think his team, the team he is coming to this coming season, has a puncher's chance of getting to a Super Bowl, and that's what I'm hinging it on.
Yeah, you're right. I think that this team has a chance. And you're right that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the coach, and Tom Brady, the player, have really come out and made Bill Belichick, the GM, look a lot better. Because if you look at his draft history, it's not all that impressive compared to other dynasties that have been around. So I think you're right. I don't love him as far as making decisions in the draft, but he's been able to scheme around all that stuff. And I don't see a reason why that should stop going forward. Understand you don't have Tom Brady to pull out miracles like they do in that Atlanta. Oh, I'm done. What you got, Swagoo?
Go ahead, Swagoo's hot his hand up.
He maybe not in the draft, but he's been phenomenal in free agency, guys.
Right.
Like when we think about the guys that he's been able to acquire, just take Stephon Gilmore, for example. And another thing, Like, it ain't normal for you to have the greatest of all time on your team. Like, Bill Belichick is recovering from losing one of the best tight ends to ever play, one of the best receivers to ever play in the quick Antonio Brown picture that had the ability to be taken, and he's lost the greatest quarterback of all time. So is the chip stacked against him? Yes, but Bill Belichick will figure out a way to build the chips back up again.
I just want to explain again. That's why the segment is called Plausible Deniability, because it's something I kind of believe, but I am absolutely not willing to be held to when all of this ultimately plays itself out eventually. Now, with that thought in mind, this is required reading from this weekend. If you did not see it, it's from our Seth Wickersham in an article titled Brady, Belichick, and the Patriots, the story behind the breakup. Part of it is this. Wickersham wrote, Monday night, March 16th, Brady called Kraft and made the short drive to his house for a conversation about which he had long imagined. Kraft, in a round of phone calls to Patriots beat writers the next day, would say that he assumed Brady was visiting to finalize a new contract. But Brady told Kraft that it was over, and the owner would leave little doubt as to why. Here is a quote to the NFL Network from Robert Kraft. Think about loving your wife, and for whatever reason, there's something, her father or mother, that makes life impossible for you, and you have to move on. And we will have Seth Wickersham on live with us in our next hour to sort of fill in whatever blanks need to be filled in. But Dominique, that one does not leave a whole lot to the imagination.
Yeah, I'm glad you're having Seth on so that he can have a victory lap, because he's been right on this for all along, but it doesn't seem like there are any blanks that need to be filled in. That's pretty obvious, right? He is putting the blame, he's shifting all the attention of the Boston sports fans and even by anybody like us who's talking about this. He's making it clear that he wanted to bring Tom Brady back, but in this case, that father or mother who's standing in the way is Bill Belichick, right? And one time, Tom Brady kind of overpowered Bill Belichick, at least that's what speculation is, to force the Garoppolo trade. Bill Belichick wasn't going to let it happen again. And my first reaction to this was kind of weak of Robert Kraft to kind of do this passive-aggressive comment in media. But then I think about it, and what else would you want him to do? He's making it clear why he made the decision that he made, and I understand it. Even though he doesn't defend the logic behind the decision, I understand the decision. You got 20 great years out of a player. That's rare. That's not going to happen again. You might get a few more out of the coach. That's the best decision for the future of this franchise. So I respect what Robert Kraft did right there, by getting it out there for us all to know, and I'm super impressed with what Seth Wickersham has done throughout his career with the Patriots, frankly.
What do you think, Marcus?
100%. The saga, and we've all speculated that the relationship wasn't the greatest. But here's the thing people have to realize, and I played for Bill Parcells, I played for Nick Saban, who's all in this Belichick tree. Not Belichick's tree, it's Parcells' tree. But these guys operate the same. They are cold killers when it comes to making football decisions. That's just how it goes. And I know that everybody wants to have the emotional response to what Belichick and Brady relationship should have been because they had so much success. One thing they have to realize is that these guys, Parcells, Belichick, Nick Saban, they always are trying to be one or two steps ahead. And look, sometimes these things don't end great. Sometimes you force a relationship because you are having so much success. So when you hear things like this in sports, Neek, behind the curtain, you, Greeny, covering it, being behind the curtain for so long, it doesn't surprise us as much as it may surprise everybody outside of this who thinks that it is all peaches and roses when teams are having success. Sometimes there are disagreements and things that don't transpire in a good way.
Yeah, it's required reading for a reason. We're not going to be able to cover all the important parts of it, but another thing that jumps out to me is how Brady seemed to be upset and like he was left out to dry during Deflategate. He felt like Belichick kind of turned his back on him. That's what you drew. That's one of the things that I drew from this piece from Seth. So you should certainly read it because it's super intriguing. And when we don't have sports to watch, what's better than a sports soap opera, which is what we have up in New England right now?
That's right. We will have Seth Wickersham again coming up in our next hour here. So we'll do more of that. And meanwhile, Tom Brady, we ran this Brady marathon